Hi there and welcome to Sam Meads Reads. Welcome back if you've watched one of my videos before. Welcome if it's your first time. This is a my book vlog. Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since I've posted. No real reason for that. I think just been really busy. Lots of kind of life admin stuff, and also I don't think I was too happy with my last video, which was a bit broken up, and I started on a bookshelf tour and I just wasn't happy with the way that was going or how that turned out, and I think I just need to rethink that. I've got an idea maybe to do a kind of rather than going through it bit by bit, kind of two piles of, out of all the books I own, what have I read, what is actually my TBR, because it'd be actually nice to know. Sometimes when I look at the bookshelf it's a bit daunting thinking there's loads I haven't read here, and it'd be nice to actually know what is there sometimes and what I do need to read. But what I have been doing a lot of recently is a lot of reading. So I think I mentioned last time I just finished the Arsene Wenger autobiography via audiobook, which was fantastic. Well, I say fantastic. I enjoyed it. I thought I got a lot out of it in terms of lots of kind of man management techniques, and kind of just how to be a great professional. I think that's what you really get out of it, and the commitment needed to excel in these kind of very highly competitive areas. That was quite interesting. I have also finished now Children of Dune by Frank Herbert, which it was all right. I'm not gonna lie, I found it a bit of a slog to get through. When it gets nearer the end, it gets weird. It is a bit more fun, and I think the second half of the book's a lot stronger than the first half, but I think nowhere near the strength of the first two, of Dune and then Dune Messiah. But I think I'll keep going, although I know some people have told me just stop there, just stop there. It doesn't get better, it just gets worse. But I think I can still persevere until I'm just not enjoying it. But yeah, that one was okay. I actually followed that up with a book I really want to talk about, and that is, I've mentioned her on the channel before, but Scarlett Thomas, and so she released her new book last month, The Sleepwalkers, and I devoured this. I think it took me a day to read. It's absolutely fantastic. The premise is it's a newlywed couple on their honeymoon, but something has happened between them that they're not talking about. And there's also, so they're on their honeymoon in Greece. They I think it's Greece, yeah, and or like an island, one of the Greek islands, and there's this rumor about this couple who stayed at the same hotel they did, called Sleepwalkers, where the husband walked into the sea and the wife went in to save him, and they both ended up drowning. So it's quite this kind of gothic kind of story, with also this kind of very funny look at, I guess, relationships and marriage, or at least the first, the idea of people who you might not know everything about, but you're committing your life to, which is really interesting. Yeah, really interesting. I loved it. It's fantastic. The way it had, to be honest, it's got like quite a bit of a different style to it. So when you get, just not spoilers at all, but in the contents page, you'll have this list straight away. So it says A, letter 1, torn, partial burn marks, blue ink on hotel, partial burn marks, blue ink on hotel note paper. And then B, letter 2, rain damage, black biro on paper. So that, it doesn't like explicitly say, but as you go, it should become obvious that the first chapter then starts as a letter. And so as I took it, was when you got to a new chapter, you were jumping down the different kind of basically you're going down the contents page. So how it's done is like you have a letter from someone, and then it'll be a letter from someone else, and there'll be bits missing and bits of information missing, and you're kind of piecing it all together. But I just thought it was fantastic. It was really it was just really tense, really funny in places, but yeah, couldn't recommend it highly enough. And it has kind of, there's definitely some themes or what I call like Scarlett Thomasisms, where you've got, I'd say you've always got a female protagonist, which is, you know, always great, female voice. She's always, or most of her books, is having some kind of relationship, usually sexual, with someone she shouldn't be, usually an older man. There's homeopathy is always a part of it. So yeah, but this one was, yeah, really interesting. What I really liked about it as well is that there's this kind of unreliable narrator kind of bent to it as well, where you know that the main protagonist is also like written like almost like a Fleabag kind of style show for TV, and went to Fringe and then made a season, and now she's trying to write her second season, but she's also writing these letters at the same time, and there's a lot of fact versus fiction with the first thing she made, and you're kind of going, well, is this part of what she's made, or is this actually true, or are all these things happening? So and yeah, and it's kind of a mystery that unfolds as well. I have seen online and this is why I wanted to really kind of bring up that opening contents page. There's a lot of reviews, especially on Goodreads, and it might just be because they've had advanced reader copies or they're reading it on ebook format. People very confused about the structure, and like literally like things saying I didn't understand why it broke up to this, so I didn't understand, like, there was words missing and whole sentences missing. Was that a misprint? And I do wonder if you've not got, say, the hardcover or hard copy, and you're being able to flick back and forward to, okay, what am I on now? What part of the contents page am I on now? If you're on ebook and you brush over the contents page and you don't go back to it, I do think that could be quite confusing. But it is quite, if you've got a hard copy, it just felt quite self-explanatory to me. But just wanted to make people aware that if you are reading it and you're going, oh, there's words missing, check the contents page, because if it says torn, partial, burn marks, like, it's telling you that there's going to be words missing, I think. But that's how I saw it. But anyway, fantastic book, and Scarlett Thomas, I just think, is just a fantastic British author who should get more recognition. So I just want to really highlight that one as a great read. After I finished The Sleepwalkers, I moved on to Brandon Sanderson's The Emperor's Soul. So this is a small novella. It's set in the same universe as Elantris, but really interesting again because it's set, I think this is going to prepare me really well for the era jumps in Mistborn, because it does jump quite far, and it's, even though it's set in the same universe, it's not, there's like no kind of characters where I'm like, oh, I recognise that character, or I recognise that as little bits. It's more of where it's set. But fantastic little novella. So whipped through that one as well. It was only 100 something pages, so really easy to get through. But I think I actually enjoyed it more than Elantris. Elantris took me a while to get into, but so this one's about what they call forgers. So this is someone who can create, it's almost like a stamp that they make, a magical stamp, which when applied with all, let's say, very specific symbols, can turn in, say, like a real cruddly made vase into something that's a piece of like a amazing vase, which like has a lot of history and heritage. And but they can also the way they do this is they change the kind of history of something, so they can they talk about how they could break out of a prison, because if they can tell where the rocks are made, then they can actually like change the history of, okay, well, actually an error happened at the processing plant, so this one's weaker than it should be, and they changed the whole history. And in this one, there's an emperor who's basically kind of his soul, so to speak, has parted from his body. He's like almost like in a coma, and this forger is kind of forced to forge his soul and make a new soul for him, so no one can tell that anything bad's happened to him. But really great book, really quick read, and I think, yeah, Brandon Sanderson is really digestible, really easy to read. So definitely, if you're a fantasy fan, definitely worth a go. Sticking with fantasy, the next book I then read was Wyrd Sisters by Terry Pratchett, which, again, I really enjoy it. I think it's probably like a mid Terry Pratchett book for me. I know like there's some people who really enjoy this one. I do enjoy the witches. I think they're very funny. I love like kind of the Shakespeare references in this one as well. But yeah, it's with Terry Pratchett, I feel like there's almost like with the plot I kind of just let it plod along, and I'm not always that engrossed in the plots of these books, but they are always so funny and so so witty, the way in the writing and the surrealism of everything. You can't help but kind of enjoy the ride. So definitely worth a read if you're into Discworld as well. So again, another recommendation for Wyrd Sisters. I also listened to another audiobook, and this is kind of a future project that I'm looking at doing, which is again, I said Scarlett Thomas doesn't get enough recognition, and someone who does get, I'd say, more recognition, but I think deserves even more, is David Mitchell. And I've been on a kind of I read earlier this year The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, and I've gone back and listened on audiobook last couple of weeks to Ghostwritten, which was his debut, and just really enjoyed that. And what a fantastic audiobook. The way that they've done that is because a lot of David Mitchell's writings, not all of them, but a lot of them, there's generally different narrators, and the way that Ghostwritten split up is each chapter is, a completely different narrator. It's usually a different setting. Sometimes it can be a different time period, and in this audiobook they've got different voice actors to do each different part, so you get some really unique narratives and narrators going on, and each part feels really distinct. It's such a fantastic book. It's so hard to describe what it's about, because it jumps from like an old lady in a mountain who's got a tea shack. It goes to businessmen in kind of Hong Kong. It goes to people working on quantum AI, hiding from the FBI in Ireland, and to kind of there's art thieves in St. Petersburg. It's such a sprawling kind of book, and it's so hard to explain, especially as I don't want to spoil it, because there's also parts of it which is definitely a bit out there, and it then links into his other stuff. But such a great read, and this was such a fantastic listen. And I've also been interested now, talking about like wanting to do this like David Mitchell project. I do want to go through all of his books. I want to kind of map kind of the bigger story as well, and different character arcs which happen between multiple novels. And so a couple of things I've been doing is also looking at some of the TV and film work that David Mitchell's done. So I rewatched The Matrix Resurrections, because he helped the Wachowskis, or I think it's just one of the Wachowskis, create with the script of The Matrix Resurrections. So I went back and gave that a watch, because I didn't like it the first time, but actually I liked a lot more of it the second time. And definitely you can see why they asked him to help, because there's definitely themes from David Mitchell's writings which definitely carry across into that. And especially and the other thing I started doing was the Wachowskis made a TV show on Netflix called Sense8, so I was going back to watch that. And yeah, after reading Ghostwritten with the multiple storylines and then watching Sense8, you can kind of see that there is a similarity here. And then I know for like the last couple of episodes David Mitchell helped write those, so I really want to get to them so I can just have a bit more of a complete understanding of his work in total. And the one book of his that I haven't finished yet and haven't read before is I've started reading Number 9 Dream, which I'm just really enjoying as well. So this is his second novel after Ghostwritten. So yeah, I'm going to try and go through them, I think, in more of a chronological order of how they're written, and then start mapping them together. That's definitely going to be like one of the big future projects I want to do. So really enjoying this so far, and yeah, just love the world building. I love how surreal this is as well in places. So with this one, it's generally the same narrator, but you kind of jump from like the first chapter is set half the paragraphs are the reality of what he's experienced, and the second half are his daydreams. The second chapter does like the same thing again, but rather than daydreams, it's memories. The third chapter is like it's like computer games or video games that he's playing. So yeah, it's really interesting to kind of structure as well. And yeah, really enjoying Dave Mitchell. Also as well, it's set in Japan, and I've really been loving, I think like I said, some Japanese books. My wife's just read Abroad in Japan, which I bought but I've not read yet, so I'm looking, and she said that was really good. So yeah, with David Mitchell, there's kind of some Japanese influence there. He's lived there for a while as well, so I'm kind of enjoying that part of the world as well that he builds. But so I can't really recommend David Mitchell highly enough, and definitely going to be some more projects going forward. I am going to do another video, I think, next week, but I really want to start getting these out weekly again. But I also want to enjoy them. I think last time I done one, I was rushing and didn't enjoy actually making it at all and wasn't happy with it. So I just want to kind of go back to basics and talk about what I'm reading. This is what I think is more important to me, is actually documenting what I've been reading, what I think about them, and then also doing these kind of slightly bigger projects of the kind of authors I love. I do want to go through maybe next week, so in a couple of weeks we're going on like our first kind of abroad beach holiday with our little boy, and say I always find I read a lot when I'm on holiday. Like, there's nothing more that I like than sitting by the beach or by a pool on holiday with a great book. But I do think you have to pick the right books for those moments. So remember the last holiday we went on, I picked up in W.H. Smith's just randomly, and this was like 7 years ago. Yeah, at least, no, probably 5 years ago. And it was A Little Life, and that depressed me for the whole holiday after I read that. I think I actually gave up like halfway through because I was like, no, this is actually ruining my mood for the holiday. So I do think there are certain books where when people talk about great beach reads, I kind of agree with that. I'm not going to take anything too heavy, but I just want to, I'll go through the books I'm planning on taking, which hopefully will be some good beach reads. Anyway, thank you for coming back and watching if you have, or thank you for watching all the way to the end if it's your first time. See you soon, and keep reading.